Hey everyone, it's Natalie, also known as Knitty Natty. Today I'm going to show you two fantastic ways to keep track of your beginning of round when you're crocheting in a spiral. The first way is by using a removable stitch marker. The second is my favorite and is called a running marker. So let's start first with a removable stitch marker. I really didn't like this method of keeping track of crocheting in the round because I could never find a marker that was easy enough to remove with one hand until I found these. These are the Coco Knits colorful split ring markers. They're metal, they're very flat, and they come with a zillion in the container, lots of different colors. I like to choose a color that is going to kind of go with my project but stand out. So I love these because they're really easy to get on and off and they stay on really nicely. So I have this marker in the very first stitch of my round. So I want to show you how to remove and replace it from round to round. It's pretty easy to do, but it just is such a game changer to have a tool that really works. So let me work the last few stitches. This is a crochet yarn cozy, by the way. This pattern is linked down below if you would like to take a look. So I'm just going to do my last few stitches here. So I'm going into the last stitch before the marker. That's my last stitch of the round. Perfect. Okay, so now I've just reached my marker. I know that's my first stitch. It's so easy to just slip this out. So I just set it down on the table and then work my first stitch and then pick it back up. And then I like to put it in the top of my stitch. So that was my first stitch. I just put it through, make sure to turn it all the way around, and that's it. You just carry on crocheting. It stays in really nicely. The only thing that I do is before I put a project into a project bag, I just make sure it's turned all the way around like this. And you can turn it all the way up to that little spot, but usually this works out just great. The other method that I like to use is called a running marker, and all it is just a spare piece of yarn that is the same size or smaller than the yarn that you're working with. You definitely want something that is going to stand out so that you can see it really well. I have been using a running marker here in this, which is all just single crochet. Of course, it's really hard to see because I have a million colors in this, and so it's hard to pick a color that was going to stand out, but you can just kind of see it right here. So the way that this works is you just have basically a long string of yarn and you just weave it back and forth between your first and last stitch of every round. So let's do that here. So right now my running marker is in the back. I'm just going to tuck it out of the way for now until I get to the beginning of round. I've got a few stitches left to do, so let me just work those. Great. Okay, so I just made it to the point where I can see my running marker right here. This is my last stitch of the round, and the last stitch is, the top of the last stitch is off to the right. So I know that this is actually my first stitch of the round. So see how my marker is here in between these two stitches? So all I need to do is grab that length of yarn, and since it was in the back, I'm going to bring it forward. And it's just going to lie in between my stitches here. Get that a little more focused. There we go. And I just hop over it to work stitch number 1. And it's just going to stay in between those two stitches there. Right there. Perfect. So let me show you what it looks like when we get back around and we need to do this again. Okay, so we've come back around. I've got one more stitch to go here before my running marker. So let me work that last stitch. This time, since my running marker is in the front, I'm just going to flip it to the back. Again, just let it rest in between. Try to get like one finger on it so I can hold it down. There we go. So I've just flipped it over there we go, to the back in between stitches. And I'm just going to skip right over it to do the first stitch of the round. My running marker gets trapped, and it works out really, really well. You also can use this if you're in a pinch and you don't have a marker on hand, and it's just really great. It stays in there really well. And then all you do when you are done, I'm actually gonna, since I'm not done with this piece, I'm gonna mark my first stitch with my stitch marker. But all you do when you're done, let's say I'm finished with this, is you just pull your running marker all the way out, and that's it. I especially like the running marker for when you're doing something like ribbing or a little more complicated. It just makes life so much easier. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this tutorial was helpful, and you can grab the cozy pattern down below.